The new bonding stud helmet doesn't look very appealing at all. Alright, so if you guys don't know, this helmet is the reward you get for 15 completed waves on hard mode in Siege. Pretty interesting. And I think that feat, getting through 15 waves on hard mode is definitely going to be pretty difficult. It's definitely harder than what we see in Absolute right now. It's probably on the same level of Absolute Reliquary, something like that. But it's a lot more engaging. It's not all about objectives and, all that sort of thing. I mean, I guess objectives are actually pretty important, but you don't have a bridge part, I guess. But yeah, still. Regardless, if you get through 15 waves in Siege mode, you're definitely a good player. Even if it's on normal mode, wave 15 can get pretty crazy. I mean, the Dreadnought definitely helps out. And yes, in wave 15 on hard mode, you practically need the Dreadnought. At least most teams are. Like 99% of teams are going to need the Dreadnought, something like that. And on normal mode, you can get through 15 waves without the Dreadnought, I think. And I think that's actually kind of a fun spot to play at. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of damage layering, so Dreadnought bots, very helpful. Anyway, the bonding stud helmet apparently is kind of annoying some players. Doesn't look very appealing, is a fair way to put it. I honestly didn't even know this helmet was the reward for hard mode, for Siege hard mode, and I'm actually kind of surprised it is. I have to admit, yeah, this isn't... This is definitely not a very appealing helmet. Now, I'm not too sure if I would call this a helmet controversy, but it is kind of funny how often we have these discussions about particular helmets. And I'm not 100% sure how they can improve this, but apparently there's another post that is also criticizing the looks of this helmet that have some interesting ideas here. I was hyped about the studded helmet only to find out it's Mark 10 instead of Mark 5. It's odd because they already added some Firstborn helmets, and the Mark 5 is the one that's known for having bonding studs, yet they slapped them on Mark 10, which is kind of lazy in my opinion. Okay, I just don't like the term lazy, to be honest. I would rather call, I would rather say it's lore inaccurate, or maybe, the devs don't have the highest knowledge of how the studs worked, or for whatever reason, maybe the devs just wanted to do something different. I wouldn't call it lazy when they're adding cosmetics into the game. That's always kind of and I gotta be honest, I kind of don't take it too seriously when people bring it up as laziness anyway. I just think they, came up short, but they're still working pretty hard on the game, so. But yeah, it kind of throws me off a little bit, but ultimately, we get what they're trying to say. And anyway, what we want versus what we get. I have to admit, the studs I just don't like the studs, man. I don't know why. They just look too big to me. You know what it is? I think it's these front two that look a little weird. I don't know. I have to admit, I didn't get the beaky helm either, but then once I started using it, I kind of understood how much I liked its aesthetic, basically its vibe. It just felt like a very vicious helmet, I guess. I'm not too sure if you feel like that's appropriate to say, but regardless, the beaky helm is definitely a legendary piece of helmets. It's definitely a legendary piece of equipment, I guess. I'm not too sure if you could call it equipment. Regardless, when it comes to these studs, yeah, they're not appealing to me in general. I will admit, though, I kind of like this helmet down here, the left corner one. I guess this is the traditional, what is it, Mark 5? And I kind of like this helmet up here without the studs, or at least take off these two. I don't get it. I really don't. I mean, even this one has the front stud and then the icon. I'd rather take out that, right? Keep the front stud, take out these ones, and then put an icon there. But see, that's me just customizing this. I'm not a dev. Nothing I say is better. You know what I mean? It's more like a personal touch. So yeah, I think ultimately people are going to like the studs just because of what you need to do to get it. And I think it's probably going to be the hardest customization option. It's going to be the hardest cosmetic to really, get in this game. I'm excited. I got to wave 15 on hard mode, going solo. Well, actually, it was solo from wave 10 to 15, which was a very sweaty experience. I was literally sweating. It is, it is June. So, yeah, things are getting pretty hot. Dude, when Siege comes out, man, oh, man, dude. It's gonna be a grind fest. There's gonna be a lot of sieging, and to be honest, I might even have a class or two to level up by then, because I'm kind of committing to running siege with heavy, probably tactical. I will have to end up leveling up my bulwark, but I have a prestige 4 bulwark on console, and right now I want to level up the assault class. I want my assault to get to pretty high prestige, even if it's prestige 3, level like 24. You're still going to be in a good spot for hard mode. You just really need to understand how to use certain perks to their most effective capabilities, and you'll be fine to push. So ultimately, even though this helmet is kind of ugly, you're still going to be able to get it. You'll be able to get it eventually. But yeah, siege mode is fun. So regardless, the journey in that is the true prize, I guess. But okay, let's see how people react to this. Surely everyone's going to be calm and collected about helmet cosmetics, right? That's always how it is. I guess that's short of the point. They were made when resources were thin and the Imperium just had to throw together whatever works. Is that the lore implication of the studs? Which is kind of interesting. I'm not too sure what they're even supposed to like do. Like, what's the benefit of the studs? Aesthetics would be the last thing considered when you have 9 legions of warped crazed lunatics breaking down your door. Yeah, I agree. And honestly, that sort of context kind of makes the helmet cooler. So that's cool. Man, there's definitely going to be some people letting me know the lore of this helmet and how it's like a top 3 helmet or something. I'm not too sure how people, rank or measure their helmet's coolness or anything, but the studs throw me off. I'm sorry. All right, let's continue. I just noticed it's a Mark 10 Tacticus. Then nothing I said matters. This is heresy. Oh, because Mark 10 would be a later edition, I assume. Dang, they said heresy. Okay, I did see one person in the comments mention that it's possible that the neck guards are keeping the devs from being able to apply a heavier looking helmet, I guess, but still with the example that I saw, even though it is a painting, so maybe it's not 100% lore accurate, it did look like the helmet, the Mark 5 helmet did kind of look like it had a similar size to the Mark 10. And I would hate for them to make a helmet that's like specifically just for one class, but they're already giving us more options with the champion skins as well. We're going to be able to use certain champion skin cosmetics on other skins, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, ultimately the studs. Yeah, let's read more comments to see how people feel about it. But this guy was about to make it to a good point, but then kind of broke down at the fact that it's a Mark 10, so the basically whatever they had to work with, that whole point doesn't really matter. But hey, you know what? To be honest, maybe you can give it like a skin to make it look worn down and people can just ignore the formation of the helmet, I guess, something like that. The molecular studs don't make any sense on helmets, especially not for a Primus. This is why I love going down the lore of certain cosmetic pieces, because there is so much that has to be said about some of these pieces that I just didn't know it could get this deep. And not to mention, the discussion around it is always very funny, because it's like, you know what, this doesn't work at all. And then there's some people are like, well, it would work in this scenario. And yeah, it just gets interesting. Anyway, this is a lot of words. Let's get into it. Lore-wise, the studs were used as a stopgap repair to allow Heresy-era Marines to quickly repair sections of their armor with very limited resources when they lacked ceramite. So they would use the studs to layer stuff like thinner sheets of spare tank armor or deck plating, or even recast tank tracks over the damaged sections of their battle plate. And even then, the repaired sections were often inferior in terms of protections to actual ceramite replacement parts at the same thickness levels. Holy cow, guys, there's gonna be a test on Friday. Make sure you get this down. What? Yeah, that's insane attention to detail to how their equipment is basically maintained, and I love to see this. In the case of the studded shoulder pads, it can make some kind of sense in that they are a field repair or decision to reduce resource use on a section of armor that so often takes the brunt of incoming fire as to be considered a consumable item. As for a helmet to need those studs, it would imply that its structural integrity has been completely compromised in a way that the Marine at the time was unlikely to have survived, and that the current user had literally no other way to repair/replace the helmet. Except with what is basically scrap metal, not even spare parts. It makes even less sense for Primus, as their helmets are designed with modular, replaceable sections instead of as a single piece like old Marine helmets. to use the studs would mean that they literally had no other replacement parts available for the helmet or even spare helmets, not even from dead Marines. All right, but I'm still able to suspend, belief a little bit in this scenario. It does just feel like we have like at least for what the devs are trying to do, I feel like they're just trying to get whatever piece of history that is involved with Space Marines and just apply it to cosmetic pieces. At least that's what I'm getting now, knowing the lore. I mean, we literally wouldn't be able to, lore accurately use these helmets unless we were, like, in a different, like, mission, different battle barge altogether, it kind of sounds like. Or, like, a different game where, like, you're just basically a run-down Space Marine trying your best to, like, make it through the world or whatever. But, yeah, ultimately you would start with the studded helmets and then go into, helmets that are more clean and pristine. At least that's the way I am getting at, what they're talking about with the lore here. It sounds like we were basically too technologically equipped to realistically need studs to begin with. This makes sense. Ultimately, though, I still like them adding certain pieces from the history of Space Marines into cosmetics. And if they have to kind of force it in on a Mark 5, on a Mark 10, this actually kind of tracks. This makes sense. But okay, let's continue. Very good comment, by the way. Furthermore, to repair the helmet in this way would likely compromise its modularity, as you would essentially be bonding all the separate pieces together, and would likely indicate the electronics within are compromised as well, due to the extensive damage initially taken to have caused it to need such repair. Alright, yeah, let me know in the comments how accurate this is, but to be completely honest, this feels pretty accurate as far as exactly what I would assume the studs would be. I mean, if anyone said anything else, I probably would believe it also, but ultimately, this makes sense. This very much makes sense. This is ugly and doesn't even make sense. I just felt like this is a funny comment to follow the last one, with all the detailed. Ultimately, this guy is correct in that it doesn't make sense, but yeah. That's just what the devs are feeling, and I think it's fine for the most part. There's so many comments, actually, that I'm reading right now. They're like, dude, this is ugly and it doesn't make sense. Like, there's a lot of people who are saying this. So I guess this did turn out to be a helmet controversy in a sense. I still think it's fine. Maybe the studs actually do kind of make sense if you consider how much we're going to have seriously, if you consider how much we're going to get beaten up in siege mode. Yeah, we're going to be bouncing off the walls a lot. So I imagine we're going to need some studs to repair our stuff. If we're not at the battle barge, I guess. But yeah, ultimately, let me know in the comments how you guys feel about this. This is kind of an interesting situation with siege mode where the cosmetics really, dude, to be honest, the survivor helmet you get from Lethal is one of the coolest pieces I think they added into the game. So I do kind of understand the disappointment that when it comes to like siege mode. I mean, the weapon skins are cool. All the other cosmetics are great. I think, to be completely honest, it's just this helmet that I've seen people complain about. So, I mean, it's kind of interesting. But ultimately, I think any sort of, hard siege mode reward that is a cosmetic piece, ultimately, anyone who has that is going to be looking pretty cool because of how hard, siege mode is going to be. This is going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see all these cosmetics get added into the game, to see exactly what we're able to customize. I seriously have so many other cosmetics from Space Wolves that I haven't really looked at too much, but that chest piece with the the wolf skull looks amazing. So I just put that on everything now. But I still really like the Raven Guard colors. I still really like the Dark Angels pieces as well. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited regardless. I don't want anyone else to feel like this helmet is gonna be like a bad thing from this patch that's gonna ruin siege mode or anything. But it's always pretty funny seeing people debate the lore accuracy and the application of the normally a historical Space Marine piece. So yeah, I can understand where the discussions on this can get pretty pretty sweaty, and how people are kind of kind of put off by it. Maybe they came up short with this cosmetic piece. Ultimately, hard siege mode is going to be very hard. So if anyone has that helmet, more power to them. But yeah, let me know in the comments how you guys feel about this. Let me know if there's any other historical pieces they should have added in regards to Siege mode. One thing that comes to mind is checkered plating. That would be kind of cool to put that on some, you know, some cosmetic pieces. But I think we have a little bit of checkered stuff, but nothing like a checkered auto bolt rifle skin or anything like that. So, I mean, regardless, I'm excited to grind for some cosmetics. I'm excited for the White Scar Assault Champion skin. I'm super excited for that one. But yeah, let me know in the comments how you guys feel about this. And thanks for watching.